By popular request, yes, AI is being used to decode animal language and it may let us talk to them, and I've got good news and bad news and even better news on that. For all the things that AI is just really bad at, it really excels at decoding complex patterns. It's been used for all sorts of research, including protein and medical development, but it can also be used for sound. In fact, it's been used to decipher the language of whales, and it was found that they have a phonetic alphabet. They have complex vocalizations to express information, and if they come from different areas, they may not be able to effectively communicate or communicate at all. Yeah, whales do have a complex language, and it is something that we could potentially express back, but there is a question of what we would express back. Complex communication has evolved independently in lots of different animals, and their experience of language may be very different from ours. However, prairie dogs are a frontrunner because they seem to have the most similar language to ours. They can say that the big red dog is moving very quickly towards our den. The only reason we know this is because their language looks very similar to ours, so using AI to decipher what an animal might be saying is very useful. It can see patterns that maybe we never saw. To understand why this might be complicated, you have to think about our closest living relatives, like bonobos. They're known for some pretty interesting things, but yes, they have language. In fact, they have different words and different combinations of these words have different meanings. If you think about something like a chimpanzee and a bonobo, we diverged relatively recently in evolutionary history, just 6 to 8 million years ago, and we all developed some form of language, so why is it so different? Well, we have discovered a handful of genes that seem to control for speech in some way, and if you integrate these into a mouse, you may get a wider diversity of vocalizations from a mouse. Which does make me wonder, because you can integrate human neurons into a mouse's brain, what if you gave them the speech genes and human neurons? Would they then be able to communicate more efficiently? This is why it is probably good that I do not have a large amount of money, because I want to know. The point being is that it seems that we evolved to have more complex language, and our brains are built around that language. It is so integrated with thought, and animals may have alternative languages, but it may not look the same to us. But I do have good news. Dogs do understand human language, at least to a degree, and you remember those button things that you can train your dog to press when they're feeling hungry or want to go for a walk? Yes, they do have an understanding of the words associated with those buttons. So you can communicate with your animals in a fairly basic way, just teaching them words, but it does go farther than that. You already understand what your dog is saying, and they already understand what you're saying. Yes, you can project that very calming voice, and they understand that everything is probably okay. But veterinarians also study to figure out what an animal is feeling. Are they anxious? Are they in pain? And yes, you can look at your animal and figure that out because that's also how they communicate with each other. When they put their ears down, when they wag their tails, animals are communicating physically. There are also a lot of body cues that you are using with other humans to say that you are shy, that you are open, that you are scared. We understand these things. In other similar animals that have the same expressions, they also understand these things in us. Dogs also can smell fear, so they know when you are stressed out and they can respond to that appropriately. Again, I have a cat, and when I am stressed out, she insists on sitting in my lap and licking my face, because she knows they might actually be smelling you. Artificial intelligence may actually help us speak to animals, but we're going to have to do more work than just making vocalizations out of a speaker. You're not going to be able to say, "Hey, how was your day?" to your dog. But fortunately, you can actually say that to them, and they may not understand you exactly, but they understand the vibe. I do love that dogs are always ready to party. I do hope you've enjoyed this. Follow for more.